I am answering your questions. If I can answer it in 60 seconds or less, I'm going to answer it. I'm answering your questions. Anything is game. Let's hear it.
My name is Adrienne Walker, and I am a Broadway performer. I want to share with you what I've learned about the business so far. Welcome to 32 Bar Cut.
Well, I have gotten away with going to a lot of dance calls with very little dance experience. I do not recommend that. But so you did say movement call, so I'll talk about that. I've seen a lot of actors who move well at these movement calls, and I've seen actors who don't move well at these movement calls. It's really up to the creative team and the casting director and what they're looking for, because they might be able to work with an actor who is not the best mover. I've also seen actors who learn on the fly very quickly and can imitate and do it without proper training. So I don't know that I can answer this question to the satisfaction that you would like, but I think that if you aren't a great mover, you should go to a few classes, maybe get into a routine of going to a musical theater dance class every week. That'll make you feel more comfortable with dance calls. But do you have to have formal dance training to show up to a movement call? No. Should you? Maybe. It would make it easier on you. Movement calls are very stressful. Now, if you are showing up to a dance call, I think you should absolutely have formal dance training, or you're going to be wasting their time. So if you are a singer first and you've gone into the singer call and they've asked you to come back for the movement call, they may know that you're not a dancer first, and that's okay. They just want to see what level you're on so that they can work with you. Hope that answers your question. I like to think that I have achieved this, but I don't think that I've ever really remained inspired, centered, and sane in between gigs. When I was in Chicago, I felt like I was always in between gigs. And when I was doing that, I was working my survival job, I was hanging out with my friends, and I was auditioning. And so I do find, however counterintuitive it may be, that auditioning really keeps me inspired, because I get to plunge myself for a few days or a couple of weeks into someone else's new project, and I always find that to be really inspiring. This is the first time, this time during the pandemic, that I have been out of work for several months. In the past 4 years, I've been fortunate to have worked since 2016, and this is the first stretch where I haven't really worked consistently. And honestly, 32 Bar Cut has been my saving grace, as well as Zoom meetings with my friends every week, Zoom meetings with my friends once a month, doing an occasional Q&A where I can help inspire someone or just give them insight into what my journey has been. When I am working consistently or even off and on, I find that taking a class here and there, getting outside and sweating, watching a new show, all of those things inspire me and help me feel a little bit better about me and my journey and what I'm up to. But honestly, I can't say with confidence that I have achieved, being centered and sane and inspired every second of every day. I don't know if anyone really has, but I hope that this helps. This is such a good question. I had a very unconventional way of getting an agent. A friend of mine recommended me. I went in, I auditioned, boom. If I were starting over again and I was searching for an agent new to the business and everything like that, I would probably make sure that one, they had a diverse roster and that they needed me. That I was a position in their roster that they need to fill, whether it be my skill set, my appearance, what I have on my resume, what I'm seeking with the type of jobs I'm seeking to do. Two, I would want an agent who is reputable, that has a really good reputation in the business, and someone that I know will represent me well. And then three, I would be looking for an agency that I vibe with, that I can trust my career with, someone that I like. That's important. You should like your agent, and they should also like you and want to go to bat for you. So I think those three components are the things that I would look for if I were looking for an agent now. I'm with Great Talent Group. I've been with them for 8 years. I love them. I'm not looking for anyone else at this moment, but if I were, those are the things that I'd be looking for. And those are actually the qualities that I have with my agency now. This is such a great question because I know that you asked specifically what do Broadway performers do or how often do they train, but I feel that if you're any performer and you've left your program, that you are consistently training and learning and trying not to stay stagnant. What I've seen from my colleagues is that they are constantly up to something, and whether it be learning a new skill or pushing themselves to branch out into different avenues of the career like voiceover or TV and film. So they're constantly learning and constantly growing. If you are in a Broadway show with a bunch of dancers, guess what? They're taking class all of the time. And when they're not taking class, they're teaching class. So I think that to be on the Broadway level, yes, you are constantly learning and growing, but honestly, I hope, and it's my understanding that performers in general are constantly doing that work. If you want to be successful, you constantly should be training in something. You can't stay stagnant in this business. You won't grow, you won't evolve, and it will be very difficult to be successful. I feel like what hits home the most for me when I talk about sacrifice in this business is time with family. I have missed so much time with my family. I have missed several Christmases, several Thanksgivings, births, weddings, baby showers, you name it. I have sacrificed that. I have also sacrificed just kind of having a social life. I talk about it in my vocal health video, and I'll probably talk about it in another video too, but I just don't really have much of a social life because I'm constantly taking care of my body, and that's just what it is. If you want to perform on a certain level, sometimes you have to go home early. Sometimes you have to say no to being with your family, and the flip side of that is that you get to be on Broadway. So it's not always rainbows and sunshine, but it is part of the business for sure. Honestly, it's my understanding that you can be singing, dancing, and acting, performing as much as you want to, because you're auditioning, sure, and you may not book everything. That's the reality of this business. But if you want to create your own opportunities with your friends, you can be working and creating and singing and dancing and acting all of the time. You can host your own readings in your home if you want to. Well, maybe not right now, but you could host your own readings of plays if you wanted to. You could host your own concerts. So if you want to perform and performing is in your heart, you can be doing it every single day if you want to. You can create your own channel and sing every day, or read a new work, or choreograph a new dance. You can constantly be working if you want to. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're hoping to make a living doing that, that's another thing. And I think my reality when I was living in Chicago and I wasn't working as consistently as I wanted to, is that I was balancing all of my work with my survival jobs and making sure I could still pay my rent. And so I was very excited when I was able to perform for a living, but that wasn't always the case. I love this question because there's such a debate on whether you need to go to college, right? Especially with student loans and with it being a little risky. A lot of college students are feeling a little risky about choosing musical theater as a major. I did not go to school for musical theater. I went to school for vocal performance, and then I went to grad school for vocal performance. I think that helped me with my technique. I think it made me feel more comfortable on stage and singing. Did I need those degrees? Maybe not. I don't know. I have come into contact with people who do not have a college education whatsoever and are amazing performers and have learned the business through experience. And I myself can say that I learned the business through experience. So if you want to go to a musical theater program, go for it. If you want that extra solid training, go for it. Do it. I am not going to hold you back. If that's not in the cards for you and you want to just get into this business on your own and see what you can do on your own, you can do that too, but I do think that you should at least take some classes to supplement whatever your natural talents may be. All right, I'm going to answer this question in two parts. One, because we are in extreme circumstances, and if we weren't in a pandemic, I would answer this question completely different way. So first, how do you navigate this profession after having just graduated and there's a pandemic? I think that you should keep in your heart what you want to do with your life. There have been pandemics, and there's also been theater for centuries, and we've always been able to bounce back from it and navigate away from it. This may be the only pandemic we'll see in our lifetime, and would you like to look back 30 years from now and wish that you had stuck and stayed true to what you wanted to do? I personally wouldn't want that on me, but I don't know what your other interests are. You might have other passions and other things, but my suggestion is to hold true to the degree that you just got and to your passions and what's in your heart. Now, the second part of that is, if we weren't in a pandemic, what would my advice be? A lot of times, actors flock straight to New York. They're like, I graduated, I'm going to New York, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna get an agent, I'm gonna do all the things, I'm gonna star on Broadway. And usually, these actors, they flock to New York and they end up doing tours or regional theater and paying New York prices and New York rent. So my suggestion is go to a smaller market that still has an amazing, thriving theater community. For me, that market was Chicago. In Chicago, I was able to do union work and non-union work, build my resume, build my credits, build my confidence on stage. And then when I made it to New York, I was able to perform with the credits I had under my belt, and it wasn't super green. I still had a lot to learn being on a Broadway stage, but I will forever be grateful for what I learned in Chicago. I hope this helps you out. Never stop learning. Never stop being curious. There is so much about this profession to be learned. You have lighting design, directing, stage design, props, set design, stage management, choreography. There's so many aspects of this profession to learn and explore. So if you're in high school and you're still figuring out what you want to do, or maybe you really do have a strong desire for acting, but you haven't given anything else a chance, I say explore it all. What if you are destined to be an amazing set designer? You never know. So I just say continue to learn, keep being curious, keep exploring. One, a dedication to what's on the page. Whenever I'm learning music, I love to learn the music, note by note. And then as I am exploring and singing the music, I'll navigate away. Maybe I'll push and pull the rhythm a little bit. But in classical music, you learn what's on the page. So I appreciate that skill. I also appreciate that I can read music and that I can teach myself my parts, and that's important to me. I'm not saying that musical theater students don't have that skill, but I learned it in my classical training and I appreciate it. The most important thing I appreciate is my technique. Technique, technique, technique. I have had ups and downs vocally, but I can always fall back on my technique, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. Stage fright is so real, oh my gosh. But how do I combat it? Yes, I get stage fright. It's better now, and the way that I've gotten used to it or more comfortable with being on stage is just repetition. But if you don't have that opportunity, say you're doing something in your school and you only have a couple nights to perform, how I combat my nerves is to practice, 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 and keep myself prepared and ready for anything. If you know everything you're going to sing and say solid, you don't have to worry about your nerves as much. If you're a little unsure about what you're going to do and how you've prepared, well, then you're leaving room for a lot of nerves and a lot of stage fright. So for me, if I'm prepared, I feel better. That helps me. Something that might help you might be meditation beforehand, making sure that you feel comfortable. Maybe you need to walk the space first and get used to everything in the space. Anything like that that makes you feel more comfortable, try it out. But stage fright, it comes and goes, it's not something you can really control, but if you stay prepared, you might feel a lot better about it. I believe in energy. I believe in the transference of energy. And what's amazing about live theater is that you're sitting in a room filled with energy, watching actors pour out their hearts to you. It's an incredible experience. I am forever changed by the theater that I've seen and the theater that I get to perform. I love going to see shows whenever I can, and I believe that the arts couldn't be more important. We look at everything that's happening in the world right now, and I see so many people tapping into their creativity or binge watching shows, and all of those are expressions of art. And live theater is just another heightened expression of that art, and it is unmatched.